Hello, and welcome to Cry Havoc Wargaming, dedicated to bringing you the uncommon. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Ron, and today I'm going to do a how-to build video on Sarissa's Tolchester Windmill. So let's get started. I was asked some information about these Tolchester pre-painted buildings that Sarisa makes that I've been using for guards of Trader's Toll, and whether they were complicated or tricky to put together. And there's really one issue that is a challenge, and that is that they have an awkward skeletal system. I wish I could show you one, but once they're constructed, I don't have a really good way to get in there to show the structure. But there's a skeletal system, and if you follow the instructions, it has you glue that together and then put the outer walls onto it. Let me grab one, maybe I can kind of.
A few moments later.
It figures that the one I grounded had this strange base in it, and I don't really want to dig through everything. But the skeletal system I'm talking about is what gives these little pieces of wood that stick out of the sides. Basically, it's a MDF structure with those that stick out and the walls slide onto them. And the way the instructions say you to do it is you build that entire structure up front. If you do that, you're going to have to fully wait for it to dry. And if you use white glue like I do, that can take a long time because it's too weak and it'll be falling apart. So I agreed to make a video showing how to build one because I was thinking I've actually got something to add here, because just by doing these out of order, you can solve the whole problem. And so I thought I had one new kit I hadn't put together yet, the mill. I would use that to show how it works. And don't you know it, the mill doesn't follow the same building plan. So I can't show you it, but I'll try to describe it a little bit here. And what I do is I skip the order that they show you in, and I put the skeletal system directly to the wall it's going to attach first. Instead of building the skeleton and then applying the skin, as it were, I apply the bones of the skeleton to each individual piece of skin, so that when I assemble it, the walls are giving the internal skeleton its structure. If I get another one of these, I'll do a build video on it to fix that, but I think I may have pretty much all the ones I'm likely to get for the game as it stands now, unless some really beautiful model comes out, because I have more than enough for what I need. So if I buy any now, it's just going to be because I really like the model, which is why I got the windmill anyway. But enough of all of that. Let's go to the building table. So that was the windmill. I mentioned that it didn't follow the same construction plan as the other ones did, and that construction plan's a little fiddly. But most of the building of the normal Tolchester buildings isn't real fiddly. And then this one came and proved me wrong. Not only does it not follow the same skeletal system as I mentioned earlier, and most of it's pretty straightforward, but the building of the cap, they're calling it something else I think in the instructions, but this is a cap mill. That's so it's called that because of that top section, which is the cap. The difference really, there's the cap mills. Those are what you normally think of when you think of the mills in Holland, the really big ones that look kind of like this, where the cap itself turns into the wind, as opposed to a post mill. Those are the ones, Sarisa's made a couple of those too. That's where you have the whole structure of the mill on a big central post and it pivots, the whole building pivots on that instead of just the top. Anyway, the cap, cupola, that's what they're calling it. They call it a cupola in the instructions. That was fidgety. It's probably a good idea to assemble the interior supports of that in advance and fully let them dry, which I did not do. And it made it really cheap, and things kept falling out while I was trying to do it. Some of the pieces did not fit together well. I had to like trim them or taper them because the tabs wouldn't fit into the slots. I've had that problem with other MDF kits before where the slots didn't seem to allow for the thickness of the MDF properly, which I think is a design flaw, really. I mean, Blacksite Studios always tells you to use a file, and that's because of that. But most companies, I think, design around that. And I certainly have always felt that way about Sarisa in the past. This one did not. This one was problematic, and I did have to make a lot of adjustments and trims on the size of tabs and slots that I had not expected to, particularly up in that cap. So that's a bit tricky. The rest of the building was pretty straightforward and worked very well. It's also pretty sturdy. I think it'll hold up pretty well, which is good. These Tolchester pre-painted models are funky. I wouldn't try to use them for anything historic. They're not being sold for historic buildings anyway. But I think they're useful for a lot of different fantasy games. I'm using them for Guards of Trader's Toll, which I'm pretty sure they were created for. But you could use them for Moonstone. I have occasionally, in fact in a video I posted recently, I used them for Quar. Probably could use them for Bunnies and Burrows. In fact, the Market Square or Market Cross, that's an old model that they do for their medieval line. They also do one for Bunnies and Burrows, and they do a pre-painted one now for the Tolchester line, which I have. So I think they're very useful for a lot of things. You could probably use them for Warhammer or stuff like that as well too. Warhammer Fantasy, anything that's fantasy and not strictly historic. The coloring of them and the sloping of the walls, the odd balconies being stuck in, and there's also dormers and things you can glue onto them. All of that is inspired a whole lot more by fantasy than it is by history. But for anything that you can use these buildings for that are fantasy, they're just superb. And no painting at all, no painting at all. They have some of the faults you might expect. One of my concerns when I first started to get them was that my buildings would look just like everybody else's. There's some truth to that, but they are so wild anyway, and they do come in several different colors. It doesn't have the same problem that I think Foreground's old World War II stuff used to have, for instance, where everybody's tables suddenly look the same. I don't think it's ever going to be as popular as those figures anyway, and the different balconies, the stairs being movable, the dormers that I spoke of earlier. There's also, I don't seem to have glued it on here yet, but there's fireplaces, chimneys. Those can be put in various places. So there's a number of things you can do that will kind of make them look a little different from another. So that's the Tolchester line from Sarissa, or in this case, the windmill itself. They actually give it a sub-name. It's Crow's Hill Windmill is what they call it. I'm glad I got it. I have a small collection of mills. I'm apparently interested very much in mills, windmills or water mills. And I have a few models of both for most periods that I play. I don't even think the idea of the windmill really fits well in Guards of Trader's Toll, because you need sort of an open area for a mill, a little less so a cap mill. I say that because the post mills have a long trailing piece with a wheel on it, or they should. A lot of the model ones don't, but there should be the big wheel, and it takes a big circular area to work at. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed that video. I hope you found it useful. If you have experience with these models that you'd like to share, we look for that in the content section down below. If you have these and have any comments you'd like to make, I'd seek for you to put them there. Also, if you have any ideas for further content you'd like to see us produce here on Cry Havoc Wargaming, we look at the content section for that as well. Can't always get to those, and sometimes it takes some time, but I do what I can. If you've enjoyed the video, I hope you'll hit like, and if you'd like to receive further notifications for videos like this one that may help you determine how to spend your time or money in your tabletop wargaming, I hope you'll hit subscribe and ring our notification bell. If you'd like to support us in financial ways, I also have a buy coffee page. The link for that is in the comments or the more section down below this video. Thanks very much, and until next time, cheers.